Hello and welcome to Protect Ukraine Now YouTube channel. A new year is upon us, and I think this is a good time to sum up the previous year, 2025. And I think this year is going to be remembered as a year of continuous negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, obviously with heavy involvement from the United States. In fact, today, I'm recording this on December 28th. Today, President Zelensky is meeting with President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. This is yet another day, another round of negotiations. Rather, a continuation of previous discussions. I believe there were roughly four big rounds of negotiations that we can think of. We started with obviously President Trump coming to the office with this great idea that he's going to end the war in the matter of hours, maybe days. This first round ended with a big scandal in the White House when Zelensky came to see President Trump, and it turned out there's a disconnect between those two leaders. President Trump clearly wants to negotiate with Russia to end this war. On the other hand, President Zelensky was very much confident that there's no one to negotiate on the other side of the table. Russia will not negotiate in a good faith.
We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yeah.
Following that fiasco in the White House, President Zelensky learned that President Trump wants to negotiate this end of war no matter what, and he has to play the game. So he learned his role, and all following meetings, he tried to align himself with Trump as much as possible. However, this did not lead to any meaningful results. It all went in circle. It all started with Trump making some assumptions and voicing some hopes for a possible end of aggression between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine obviously is defending itself, but Trump, for some reason, skips this part. To him, these are just two countries at war. Then he makes some clumsy attempts to pressure Russia and Ukraine. Then Zelensky gets some support from Europe. Europeans try to walk back the lines that Trump is proposing. At the same time, Russia is only hinting that they're interested in peace negotiations, but they never make any commitments. Trump seems to ignore that Russia is not making any commitments, but once he understands that this is going nowhere, he goes back to his rhetorics. Everyone is already familiar with his "this is not my war, fight as long as you desire, I don't care. These are not American boys that are dying on this war, so do what you want." The next big memorable thing probably happened in the summer, around August time, when Trump welcomed Russian dictator Putin in Alaska. He obviously hoped for another round of meaningful negotiations. That meeting ended up with no results whatsoever. I believe Trump took a lot of political hit for hosting Putin in Alaska. Everyone to this day remembers him rolling out red carpet for Putin. I don't think this will ever be forgotten, and this is going to be a big stain on Trump's legacy forever. Again, no results. Now, the latest round of negotiations started around November timeframe. That's when we got this 28-point peace plan. Then it turned out to be 22-point peace plan. Now it is 20-point peace plan that Zelensky apparently is discussing with Trump today. Again, I don't anticipate any results. And why is that? Why we wasted this year? And I believe this was a huge waste of time trying to end this war with a peace deal that that turned out to be illusional. Where this illusion comes from? In my opinion, the biggest illusion, the biggest problem that we're dealing with is that there's this genuine belief on the behalf of President Trump that he is going to sign a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is going to dictate the reality on the ground. He's going to pressure Russian dictator Putin to come to a peace negotiations, actually sign this document, and actually follow whatever is going to be on this peace deal. This is as far as it can be from the reality. Historically, it always has been so that a war first ends, and only then comes a treaty that fixates on paper what has happened on the ground and what each of sides had to compromise or not. Like, so winning sides obviously dictate their victory terms. The losing side has to compromise. It's never in the history of this planet, correct me if you know otherwise, we had a situation where a piece of paper dictated terms on the ground. So again, the reality comes from actual stopping force, exhaustion, collapse, or other credible leverage on one side. Right now, the situation is fairly balanced between Russia and Ukraine. However, Russia has an upper hand. It obviously has more resources. It obviously has more manpower than Ukraine does. For that reason, Putin doesn't believe he has any reason to end this war right now, has no incentives. Again, this is a war of attrition. Ever since Putin lost his blitzkrieg in 2022, he is trying to exhaust Ukraine, exhaust assistance coming from the West. And according to Putin, again, that's what he gets to see. Ukraine is not maintained properly. I happen to agree with that position. Ukraine is not maintained properly. Ukraine is not getting enough weapons. Ukraine is not getting enough investment into drone manufacturers. So from that perspective, Putin's calculations are correct. He only has to wait a little bit longer, and he is not going to stop right now. That's why I do not believe that these negotiations or any previous negotiations ever had any chance. European support is very loud, but is not decisive. Europe is not providing Ukraine, again, not with enough military assistance to stop the aggressor. The cherry on the cake really is this latest 90 billion euros, 105 or something billion dollars package that Europe just announced, assistance to Ukraine. This is definitely not enough. At the same time, Zelensky and I believe other leaders in Europe hailed this as a significant boost of support for Ukraine, and most importantly, a strong message to Moscow that Ukraine is going to be supported, and they have no point in continuing this war.
For us today, this is a truly important victory. Boss, these 90 billion. Boss, it would have been incredibly difficult for us without them. Boss, extremely challenging. Boss, very, very hard to know. Boss, you understand this perfectly well. $45 billion in interest-free credit. This is without a doubt tied to Russian repressions. Absolutely, in any case. They campaign many mates. These are important steps. The fact that European leaders found this format and our team worked with Europe for a positive outcome This strengthens us. This is a signal to the Russians that there's no point for them to keep fighting because we are financially supported, meaning we won't crumble on the front.
I completely disagree with that assessment. Even if Ukraine gets all money in this package, that's about, again, $100 billion spread over 2 years. Some of it is going to be military assistance. Some of it is going to be assistance to the government of Ukraine. What is stopping this aggressor is military support for Ukrainian army. At best, it's going to be $20 billion a year. This is not nearly enough for any significant change on the front line. And a significant change on the front line is what's needed the most at this point. Ukrainian defenders are running out of ammunition, out of resources, out of people. What's most important is they're running out of their comrades, and they put in this very harsh, very difficult situation where they need to continue fighting this war when they're not getting support from the Western countries that supposed to help with their, at least they promised that help. Again, going back to the verbal rhetorics that all of us have heard, there are promises made, there are promises broken. Ukrainian defenders definitely not feeling enough of that support on the front line. Second, and I have to say this, Ukraine as a government have also failed those people on the front line. They were not able to mobilize their economy. They were not able to end corruption. They were not able to end all the bureaucracy that holds back that very private sector that needed today to supply Ukrainian defenders with technologies that keep them efficient. So Ukrainian government, Ukrainian military and political leadership is also a big problem. They need to improve or be replaced. But without that segment, without that change, Ukrainian military is also going to suffer greatly as we move into 2026. Again, this is up to Ukrainians in Ukraine to improve the quality of their government and change things that need to happen over there, something we cannot dictate them how to do. But again, my work is here in the United States, and I think most people listening to this channel are Americans who support Ukraine. So let's talk about what we can do better. And problem that I see is this. There's not enough demand for the Congress here, for the White House here, to support Ukraine militarily. There's a lot of good words of support that add up to more or less nothing. When I go online, I typically see pictures like this one. We have a spelling bee contest. You know how to spell the word of terrorist. Okay, sure. So I do not disagree, but this is clearly an illustration where the public, the diaspora, Ukraine supporters, they want Russia to be labeled as a terrorist. While this is fair, how does this help Ukraine materially? Again, think in terms of Ukraine defender sitting under a tree in a trench, hiding somewhere from FPV drone coming from Russian side. How does calling Russia a terrorist state helps them? It does not. This message is missing critical point necessary to drive change that will be efficient and fundamental for the front line. Next, consider this image here. So this is a lovely diagram of how many leaders have changed in United States, UK, Germany, France, and even China. while President or dictator Putin is still at his seat since 1999. Okay, amazing. Putin is a dictator. That's an amazing message, and there are no questions about it. There are no doubts that Putin is a dictator. Going back to my previous question, how is calling Putin a dictator helps Ukrainian defenders who need Mavics, who needs vehicles to move around, who needs tourniquets and other things to keep them efficient? How does it help them? No, it does not. But see, you guys posting this stuff, you guys responding to this kind of posts on the internet, and that's where your attention goes to. And when you waste your time looking at these posts, reposting, commenting, and otherwise supporting that sort of media, you missing the opportunity to help Ukraine for real. A lot of media attention came after President Zelensky posted his New Year wishes for apparently Putin. May he perish. That's how labeled that speech, New York Post. Amazing, amazing, amazing wish. So do I. So is everyone else. Yes, we want Putin to perish. Amazing. 10,000 likes. And if we look in more details, we have 8.1 thousand thumbs up and 1,000.2 hearts. People love to see Putin dead. Yes, me too. How do we make this happen? Without supplying Ukraine with weapons. How is this going to materialize on its own? How do you see this happen? Yeah, but here's another image. And here's Kasparov, who is actually talking about the military aspect of Russian defeat. Russia won't change until it is defeated. Only Ukraine's victory in Sevastopol, Sevastopol is Crimea, by the way, can end the imperial disease. Defeat is the therapy. Amazing. I love how Mr. Kasparov underlines that Ukraine needs to win militarily this war against Russian aggressor. Amazing. But where the weapons are going to come from? Mr. Kasparov, do you care to advocate in Congress and to the White House for military assistance of Ukraine? Or do you want Ukrainians to continue fighting this war with shovels? This doesn't work this way. Again, there's no demand in public to support Ukraine militarily. Now you can say that, you know, this is my social media feed. I am in my own bubble, and this is not objective. And this is fair. This is fair. Perhaps you have a different view. Maybe your social media feed is asking for specific military investments in drone manufacturing. Maybe in your Facebook or X or whatever, wherever you go for news, you get specific requests for aviation for Ukraine, air defense for Ukraine, and so on. But this is not what I see, and I went to talk to my friend artificial intelligence, and I was trying to get its perspective on how empathy, solidarity, negotiations, peace framing is different from Ukraine-specific capabilities request. And according to, in this case, that was ChatGPT. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily need to use ChatGPT. You can use any AI you want. I'm just giving you the tool I use so you can replicate. But according to the research I've done through, again, artificial intelligence, 90% of all social media posts, 90% are about empathy, solidarity, negotiations, peace, so on. Only 10% is asking for military support. Now, I bet you that out of that 10% asking for military support, the number of requests that go towards actual things Ukraine requires today is even smaller. With that, you create an echo chamber between diaspora, between Ukraine supporters and the Congress, where our congressmen respond to what you're asking for. You're asking for solidarity. You're asking to call President or dictator Putin a terrorist. You ask to criticize Russia for their barbaric actions against Ukraine. That's what you get. Our senators and representatives, a lot of them, if you go to their social media, you're going to see that they empathize with you. Is this what's necessary? I don't think so. So in 2026, what you need to do is create a demand for actions, for something measurable, something meaningful. Talk to your senators, talk to your representatives. According to the latest poll from Reagan Institute, 70% of Americans support Ukraine. 70%. Think about it. Now, what's missing here? Those 70%, they need to translate their opinion into action. Now, of course, I don't think I can get 70% of America to write or call their senators or representatives. But at least some of them should, because without significant change on the front line, Ukraine is going to lose this war in 2026. If we, Americans, do not provide meaningful, fundamental change to how military assistance to Ukraine is administered, Ukraine is going to lose either really badly, or they would have to somewhat compromise to things they shouldn't be. Namely, Russia is asking for specific territorial concessions, and they're asking for limits to Ukrainian armed forces' abilities to support Ukraine. Now, if you, again, want 2026 to look a little bit better than this continuous rounds of negotiations that we have seen in 2025, you need to step up and you need to act. Today is December 28th, and today President Trump is meeting with President Zelensky in Mar-a-Lago. I don't know what is being discussed. I don't know what are the outcomes of this meeting, but I'm confident there will be no meaningful results. The only change will come from the change on the ground. The only peace possible in Ukraine or any country in the world is peace through strength. Right now, Russia has an upper hand in this confrontation. For Ukraine to end this war on their terms, they need to have military strength. I ask you to step up in 2026 and talk to your congressman. You are just as responsible for military assistance as they are. In fact, I firmly believe that Congress is a reflection of what people demand. That's how it's supposed to be. If you're not phrasing your ask correctly, you're not going to get the results you're going to appreciate. With that, I would like to wish you a happy new year, keeping in mind that it's up to you to actually make it happen.